Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Mr. DiBartolo. This is awkward. Anyway, I'm Mr. DiBartolo. I am the 10th grade teacher here at Uplift Peak. We are doing Pandemic Learning 2020 today. Very excited. Um, Below on the YouTube link, or in the description of the video, is a link to all of the Google Slides for this session. This should be about a 45-minute session, and then you guys have a little bit of homework to do. A little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm a teacher at Uplift Peak. I've been there for about 3 years. And hi to all my Uplift Peak little ones. Hi, guys. Oh, I miss them. Okay. Um, so, as you see, if you guys can all access the slides, I want you to go to the second slide, um, letting you know what materials you'll need. So you will need a pen or a pencil or whatever you need to write with. You will need a notebook. You will need a burning desire to learn, because we will learn here. I was trying to be funny. I doubt any of you are laughing, but I'm trying. If you need to pause it for a second, pause it, get those materials, and resume when you come back. I'm going to go ahead anyway. Okay, so some goals that I have listed out for y'all, for what I want you guys to get out of this session and for the future sessions that we have. I want you to improve your English skills, that being reading, writing, listening, and communicating. This is still a real class, and we still have to continue to learn and improve our skills. Just because coronavirus has shut us down for a little bit doesn't mean that we have to shut our education down and our learning down. So we will continue to learn. The second goal is learning to adapt to adverse situations. This has never happened, I think, ever in the history of the United States. So you guys are definitely living in interesting times. Learning to overcome hard situations and being flexible, which you guys are all doing now by being here. So thank you. And the last one, learn to love reading with fun texts and articles. I have 9 sessions with you guys, and I'm going to try and make this as fun as humanly possible. I'm going to try and give you guys fun articles and hopefully some cool books through it as well, and I'll have more resources for you guys for the next session. Those are my goals for you. What are your personal goals? So I want you to take out a blank sheet of paper and write down your personal goals, either for this session or for life or for this week, month, year, whatever. But I want you to think about what you want and what your goals are, because we should all be working towards something. So you can pause me now. You can give yourself a few minutes to reflect and write those out. You can bullet point them. You can draw arrows, and you can make it as messy as you want. This is just for you. I'm not looking at this, obviously. So take a few minutes and think about that. You can pause me on the YouTube there. I feel like so old.
Did you pause it?
No. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're done. And this is how I will be structuring all the sessions is I'll tell you what materials you'll need so you'll have them, and then we'll go right into a do now. My peak little ones, they know my do now, which is slide 4 on the Google Slides, is just writing. 5-minute writing time, try and write as much as possible. Pretty self-explanatory. Typically, I'll have I'm going to try and do 1 or 2 options for you guys to choose from. So we have 2 options that you can write about. Your first option is, how has coronavirus affected you? Or, what is something totally overrated in your world? You guys choose whatever you want and however you want to write about it. The only thing that I ask for you for this time is that you use at least 2 transition words that I've put in the PowerPoint. You can see them on the bottom left. They're all there for you. I want you to use at least 2 in your writing. Seems pretty reasonable. There is a timer on the bottom corner. You can pause me and then click the timer and then time yourself as you write. The dog barks, so don't get scared. But I will use the timer exclusively because I think the dog is adorable. So just get used to that. Okay, so you can pause me now and start writing. Okay, so I'm assuming that you've written. If you want to type out maybe a comment on the YouTube comment section, I feel so old. If you want to type out a comment on YouTube and write out what you said, or how the coronavirus has affected you, or what is totally overrated, that's totally fine. Just do it in the comment section below. Okay, let's get started. Slide 5 is clauses. So, a clause, it equals a subject, who or what the sentence is about, plus the verb, the action of a sentence. So, y'all don't know me all that well. I like to make fun of myself as much as possible. My students like to make fun of me as much as possible. So I'm going to make fun of myself, so it's okay. You'll see in red, I have a sentence. And it's a valid sentence. It reads, Mr. DiBartolo smells. Not totally accurate, but okay. Who is that sentence about? Mr. DiBartolo. It's about me, Mr. DiBartolo. And what is the action of that sentence? The action of that sentence is that I smell. Oh, I'm so stinky. Okay. So, subject plus verb is a clause. I have a second sentence in blue, right underneath the Mr. DiBartolo smells one. It is, my cat jumped on the desk and she knocked all of my papers off the desk. This is going to be a really important sentence moving forward. But here we see 2 sentences joined together with a comma and we're going to get there later. But our first clause reads, my cat jumped on the desk. Okay. What's the action of that sentence? Jumped. Who is that sentence about? It's about my cat. Look at her. Look how tired she is. She jumped on my desk and she knocked all of my papers off the desk. Who is the sentence about? It's about the cat, and the action is that she knocked all of my papers off the desk. So, if you have a subject and a verb, you have a clause. Real simple. That means you can literally have a sentence with just 2 words with a subject and a verb. What I want you to do now, I want you to write 5 simple clauses. You can make fun of me if you want. I don't care. I won't see them, so it doesn't really matter. Just write 5 simple clauses. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. Actually, I'll give you 3 minutes to do this, so you can pause me now. Okay, I'm assuming that you're back. And now we're going to get into compound sentences. Compound sentences are basically joining two sentences or clauses together. So if you see on the third line, I have independent clause. All that is a simple sentence or a clause that we just went over. You're going to add a comma and a coordinated conjunction. Now, a coordinated conjunction will typically be one of these fanboys here. And this is basically a glue word that joins these two sentences into one sentence. And then you have your second independent clause. So you have one independent here, and in the middle is a comma and this coordinated conjunction that acts as a glue word. So I have an example on the left side here. Mr. DiBartolo smells, comma, and he is a mean teacher. Okay, if we break down the sentence into its component parts, we see Mr. DiBartolo smells. We see that he is a mean teacher. Both have a subject and a verb. Right? Smells is the verb in the first portion. Is the verb in the second portion. That's a being verb. And then it's joined together with a comma and one of those coordinated conjunctions. I refer to them as fanboys because if you look at the first letter of each of these words, it spells out the acronym fanboy. The key to this is to remember that it has to have a comma in front of the fanboy, not behind it, not anywhere else in the sentence. It has to come in front of the fanboy. So, based on this, I want you to try and write 5 compound sentences on your paper. Additionally, if you're a little bit unsure, I've also linked Khan Academy videos about sentence structure in the YouTube description. So you can also check out what they have to offer and see if that makes a little bit more sense to y'all. Fair. I hate not having feedback. I'm not paused, sweetie, so yeah, I'm just going for it. Okay. So I'm assuming you're gonna need about 5 minutes on this. Take as much time as you need. Don't stress. The slide is up here for you, and those Khan Academy videos are up there for you as well if you need the extra support, and that's totally fine. So pause me, try and write out the sentences, see how you do. Okay. We're going to move to slide number 7, which starts with a dependent clause. A dependent clause does have a subject and a verb, but it can't stand on its own. What that means is I am an independent adult. I have an apartment. I can stand on my own. I'm independent. But like a baby is dependent on its mother to survive. It needs extra support in order to survive. A dependent clause can't stand on its own. It's not independent. So, what do I mean by that? We're going to use this example when Mr. DiBartolo smells. Now, I want you to think, is that a complete sentence? Does it have enough information to stand on its own? It has a subject and it has a verb. So in theory, it should be a complete sentence. But you'll see I highlighted this word when. This word totally messes up everything. What happens when Mr. DiBartolo smells? Could you fill in the blank? When Mr. DiBartolo smells, his girlfriend will run out of the house because I'm so smelly. She's smiling. She's like, yeah, I will. That word when is a subordinating conjunction. Basically, what a subordinated conjunction is it creates a dependent clause, a clause that cannot stand on its own. Now, there is a formula for a dependent clause and an independent clause, and this trips my peak little ones up all the time. If your sentence starts with a dependent clause, you have to recognize where that clause ends. Because if it's like a compound sentence, it will have two clauses in it. It will have a dependent and an independent clause in order to make it to complete it. So when that first clause ends with and it starts with a dependent clause, you have to put a comma after the dependent clause, and then your independent clause, and then a period. But if your sentence starts with an independent clause and then finishes with a dependent clause, you do not need a comma. So I like to think of it as D, comma, I, and then I, D. If we move to slide 8, you can see all of the subordinated conjunctions. Now, there are plenty more in the English language, but we are not going to get into all of them because that is a lot. So, I call them awubis words because you see all the first letters form a weird acronym called awubis. Just go with it. You'll see if you plug in any of those words to Mr. DiBartolo smells, all of them will create a dependent clause, a sentence that cannot stand on its own and needs more information. Because Mr. DiBartolo smells, his girlfriend left him. Since Mr. DiBartolo smells, you can fill in the blanks. So what I want you to do here with these dependent clauses, I want you to try and write 3 complex sentences. A complex sentence is no. Let's leave that alone for now. I want you to write 3 dependent clauses that start with these awubis words. So take 2 minutes and come up with 3 unique sentences that are dependent clauses. So you can pause me now. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're back. Now, I alluded to a complex sentence before. A complex sentence is just having a dependent clause and an independent clause in a sentence together. And that's it. So now, with those 3 dependent clauses that you wrote, I want you to finish them. And what I mean by finish them is make an independent clause after them. And this way you'll have 3 complex sentences. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this. Again, if any of this is confusing, you should check out those Khan Academy videos because they are really, really good. And I will post links in the PowerPoint for them as well. Okay. So, we went over a simple clause, compound sentence, and a complex sentence. That is a lot of information. This should be review as well. So, here's what I'm going to have you do. On slide number 9, I have linked 4 articles. I think they're interesting. I hope that you think they're interesting. I tried to make them interesting as possible. There are 4 articles. One is about watching sports in the season of the coronavirus. One is about trying to fix genetic diseases and raising ethical issues. One is about Trump proposing bills that could impact federal school lunches. And the other is Zoom parties because of the coronavirus, which is somehow a thing now. So, what I want you to do, choose one of those articles. You don't have to choose two. If you want to choose two, you can, but you don't have to. I say choose one article. I want you to read it carefully. What I mean by that is I want you to read it carefully and highlight different sentences, different sentence structures that you see, and label them. So what I personally would do is on that sheet of paper where you wrote your do now, is I would rewrite the sentences. I know that's a lot of work, but then you'll see how the structure actually functions in writing and not isolated like the small sentences that we wrote. So I want you to rewrite the sentence structures that you see, the compound, the complex, and I want you to label them. For homework, I want you to write a paragraph describing how the article made you feel and use a variety of sentence structures and transition words in your paragraph. Remember, the transition words were located on slide 4, so you can find them there. I feel like the homework should take you about 45 minutes, maybe 30 if you're quick. But rewrite each sentence structure you see, and then write a paragraph describing how the article made you feel, and use a variety of sentence structures and transitions in your paragraph. Okay. You can pause me now, but that's pretty much all I have for you today. Thank you guys for being with me and being here with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.